My oh my, and we're back.
It's Wednesdays.
Welcome yet again to another episode of Wednesdays with Woody, where we interrupt your regular Hump Day Wednesday to bring you this hot ass mess of a show. If you didn't know or needed an introduction, my name is Woody, and I'll be taking you through these Wednesday sessions where we'll be discussing all things trending and topical, but mostly it's whatever's in my brain, whatever's been permeating in the corridors of my mind. It has been, oh my gosh, it's been like a wild week for me. And a lot has happened, really, like a lot has really like transpired and taken place. From last week Monday, we had the Queen's funeral. Was it a funeral? Oh, you know what? It was her funeral. And we also had the Game of Thrones episode, which gave us a little bit of a spin in terms of LGBTQIA plus characters. There was also Rihanna announcing that she'll be the headliner at the NFL, the Super Bowl halftime. Let's not even get into it. And who knows what else has been happening this week. Plus, there was also bye week last week. I really did enjoy reading a lot of the comments and a lot of the interactions on the socials around bye week. But let's not hesitate anymore. Let's really get into it. So one of the things that grabbed my attention this past week was a comment on Twitter by some guy named Adam. I know exactly who he is, but I don't want to get into his surname. He's I would say like a comic book, what do you call them? An illustrator, but he's not an illustrator. He does comic books. I'm more entitled to say graphic designer, but in fact, let's just call him an artist. We'll call him an artist, who tweeted this week in reference to the Modern Family show or series. He tweeted that I feel like these two, referring to Mitch and Cam, set gay rights back to the 90s. And wow, like so much was going through my mind when I read this comment. Initially, I was like, what the hell is he talking about? How are you gonna I don't know, drag Mitch and Cam just like this? These are just fictional characters. And in what world would these two have set us back in terms of gay rights? And I think what he was referring to, or what was later revealed in the comments, was of his tweet, was that Cam was a straight man, was a gay character being portrayed by a gay, was a straight, Cam. Cam was a gay character being portrayed by a straight man who went on to win a number of awards from his portrayal of the character. I need to learn to enunciate more. From his portrayal of the character. And wild. I don't know if I completely agree with Adam's opinion of Mitch and Cam. I mean, there is a lot to be said about Cam being portrayed by a straight man, but to say that these two characters, Mitch and Cam, had set us back to the 90s in terms of gay rights, I think is a bit of a far stretch. Especially when we, or especially, not specifically, why do I like the word specific? You know what, let's not get into this. Especially when we consider when Modern Family came out, what the climate was around gay rights at the time. And in my view, my personal and humble opinion, I think that Mitch and Cam did a lot for gay rights. I mean, I think it was the first time in TV history that we had seen gay characters portrayed in such a fashion, married, well-adjusted, living their suburban lives, having adopted a child, going through the struggles and the pains of raising a child as two gay men. I mean, the show was just, it was really, I think it did a lot. I think it did a lot for gay rights. I think it did a lot for, once again, we always get back to it, don't we? It did a lot for representation, as always. A lot for representation for gay culture during its time and during its tenure as a series. I quite enjoyed it. I don't think that the characters, and this is in reference to one of the comments that was left under the specific tweet, where one of the commenters said that a lot of gay men could never identify with the characters of Mitch and Cam because of their effeminate nature or the way that they were just presented. You're really never going to win them all, if you really ask me. And I think that's what Jesse Ferguson, who was the actor who portrayed Mitch, that's what his comments was. You can't make everyone happy, and I completely agree with that. I don't find the characters of Mitch and Cam to be very effeminate in their portrayal. I think they're well balanced in terms of their delivery as characters. I think it's very hard to really be able to centralize and pinpoint how gay men should be portrayed on TV, especially. Could we just cut the word specifically? Especially because the spectrum for gay men, and in fact, it's not even just gay men, the spectrum for any character that is portrayed on TV is quite vast. It's just that they chose a specific angle, and once again, I'm just going to reiterate myself. I don't think Mitch and Cam were grossly effeminate in their portrayal or in their acting out. I think they were two well-balanced characters who I grew to love, who I sometimes when I'm busy watching, for the 100th time, watching reruns of Modern Family, I'm just like, yeah, you know what? That makes complete sense. This is a version of a gay man. It doesn't necessarily speak for all of us, and it really should not speak for all of us. For its time, I think it did what it was supposed to do in terms of inviting an audience into the lives of two gay men who were raising a child in suburban America. And it was fascinating to witness, fascinating to see them go through their challenges, fascinating to have them just, grapple with the issues of having to raise a child who is not of your own, adopted child, and having to raise them in this world, having to teach them things that you weren't necessarily ready to teach them or weren't prepared to teach them. I remember in one of the episodes, I think Lily was maturing as a woman, and they needed to work around that. And I suspect for a lot of gay men who have daughters as their children, as their children, I was going to say offspring, as their children, that is obviously just a point or a centralizing something you can relate to. But yeah, that was Adam's comments. Can't say I completely agree. I don't agree. And I don't think that they set us back to the 90s in terms of gay rights. Obviously, there's always that issue of how are gay men to be portrayed on TV. And as I've said before, before we had the pedophilia, the grossly effeminate gay characters on TV, the psychopaths, the murderers, the list goes on. This was a really good reintroduction or rewriting of that narrative. Obviously, since then there've been thousands and not thousands. There've been different versions, perhaps, different versions of gay men on TV, which have either related to many people or have continued the narrative that gay men are effeminate, which isn't all of us. That, some of us are butch, some of us are effeminate. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with any example of these versions. There's nothing wrong with being that type of a gay guy. Nothing wrong with that at all. I think the beauty of being part of the LGBTQIA plus community is being able to express yourself on the rainbow, on the spectrum. Express yourself on the spectrum in whichever way you see fit to express yourself. You don't need to, fit into a cookie cutter version of what the world wants and what the world expects you to be. And a lot this year, we've seen a lot of, I don't want to say characters, a lot of people in the mainstream having to grapple and really having to challenge these examples of gay men. Rihanna will be the headline for the 2023 Super Bowl halftime show. I'm super excited about this, mainly because I'm actually just craving music from Rihanna. I really do miss her artistic flair when it comes to her music and what she gives us, and her honesty in her music. So I'm hoping for a new album, but I'm not going to keep my fingers crossed. I know better. This girl could literally come there, perform some old songs, and just be like, okay, I'm done. No more studio to you guys. We're back to the Fenty factory, which has been a lot of the memes that I've seen on social media this past week, where people are busy saying, Rihanna's just going to tell us, like, she's just going to be like, I don't know, unveiling new product lines. There's going to be no music involved in this, which has been quite hilarious and quite entertaining to read and to view from the audience. But I'm super excited that Rihanna is going to be the headliner for this. I can imagine that it is quite an honor. Not a lot of artists get that opportunity, but in recent years, obviously, we've seen a great influx of different celebrities in the music industry just giving their talents to that specific segment of the Super Bowl, which is really a lot. No, is it a lot? A lot of people primarily just watch the Super Bowl and they just call it a day and go back into their lives. So I can't wait. I really can't wait. I'm super excited for her to perform and just wow us. Just give us something fresh. Give us a new take on whatever she's got cooking. Talking about TV series and gay characters on TV, last week, if anyone was watching, and I really didn't pay much attention to it because I'm just at the point where I'm just like, oh, okay, thank goodness we can see some gay characters, because surely they must have existed gay people during this time and space. But Game of Thrones, they dipped into the LGBTQIA plus rainbow and gave us a bisexual character, or was it a gay character? It was a gay character, I assume. No. I'm going to assume it was a bisexual character because I haven't watched this week's episode. So my assumption is that this was a bisexual character. But it also could have been a gay character who just lived in the closet because, as I was laughing this weekend, gay men can have children with straight women. We've done it throughout history. It's nothing new. But last week, Game of Thrones unveiled a gay character. There was a comment from one Twitter account, British GQ, which stated, "There's no gay in Game of Thrones, but this is a world of strict heteronormative traditionalism," which was really interesting as a caption for the tweet, accompanied by a photo of the two characters in question. Yeah, man. I mean, a lot of the comments were really centered around why wasn't the word gay used to describe this character, or bisexual, or any other word on the rainbow spectrum. And I suppose we really do need to. It's a fictional story, number one. Let's just always remember that it's a fictional story. It's not true, but it does it does do good for us to debate what people choose to create. But I suppose from a historic perspective, the word gay, I don't think was a wildly used word. I don't even think it even existed at the time. And if it did, its earlier versions were to express happiness or joy and not necessarily the same-sex attractions between two men or two women for that fact. So in one of the scenes, the father of the bisexual male, and I'm not going to say their names because I always forget them, he said that, well, his mother was saying that he has attractions, alluding to the fact that their son has attractions to other men, and the father was like, oh, he'll outgrow it. They all outgrow it. Which, I don't know, I suppose I need to see how the story unravels, but he really did have an intimate relationship with one of his close friends, or someone in his council, should we say. And that was beautiful. It was beautiful to see that form of representation finally making its way through to shows such as Game of Thrones. Once again, I think not to view gay men or gay characters as something very modern or something very new. I think by now we must all just live with the fact that gay men have been around, I think, since the beginning of time. In fact, I want to believe since the beginning of time, dating way back to Rome and Athens and all of that jazz. So yeah, it was very interesting to see a gay character finally come to life. I still have issues with the lack of male nudity in such a show that once had a lot of nudity just shown on TV. We actually still see a lot of nudity from the female perspective, but not from the male gaze. From the male gaze. Wait. We still see a lot of nudity from the female characters, but not from male characters, which is such a shame. I think we need to free the peen, and not keep it hidden. But that's another discussion altogether. So that was really beautiful to witness, especially when. Oh, and this is a spoiler alert, but it's been a week. I'm sure you've all watched it by now. It was very interesting. It was very beautiful. Not beautiful. Woody, you and death. It was very interesting when his partner had been killed, and how he cried and just crawled his way over to this lifeless body to hold the head of his lover in his arms. And that was really beautifully done, I think, just to showcase the intimacy between the two and how closely connected they were to each other, and how loving their relationship was. A lot of people obviously just having their own problems and their own hissy fits, but I'm not going to get into that. We're not going to pay any attention to any of that negativity. We're going to keep it rolling on this positivity train and this importance of representation and this importance of just allowing people to write and create whatever characters they want to create and portray them the way that they want to portray them. Oh my goodness. There are so many things I've just left in the breeze or left in the wind. I still need to listen to Meghan Markle's podcast, and I still need to somehow continue from where I left off with the Harry and Oprah Winfrey show, just discussing mental health, because those topics are really important to me, and I really want to hear what Meghan Markle's got to say. Because since that first episode, I haven't heard much. But obviously, everything was overshadowed by the passing of the Queen. But yeah, I really want to get back into those things soon, so I can at least give my opinion on them. My complete opinion, not my half opinion. My complete opinion on them. I did finally, in fact, get to finish watching The Crown. Very, very interesting to watch seasons, I think 2 and 3, around Margaret Thatcher and around Prince William. No, it wasn't Prince William. Prince Charles and Diana and their relationship. Very tragic. I'd never once. It's very interesting to see how the Prince Charles and Diana relationship, how that evolved and what it became, and how we remember her, compared to a lot of the other stuff that was happening in the background. That was very, very interesting for me just to observe and to finally call it a day. I did see a teaser, not a teaser trailer, but I did see someone talking about season 5 of The Crown. I'd be intrigued to see how the story goes, but I think it's world history. We've lived through it, so we definitely know how it went. But it's the background. Oh gosh, I'm going off on a tangent over here. Let me rein it in. And with all of that said and done, darlings, thank you so much once again for joining me on this week's episode of Wednesdays with Woody. I hope you've enjoyed the ramblings of a madman. And I hope that you come back next week to hear further ramblings of a madman. But I really have been enjoying recording these podcasts and just sharing my views on the world and my opinions on whatever I'm finding trending and topical. As always, if you guys want to come on the podcast or have your own topics that you want me to discuss, and that you want to hear my views on, please reach out to me. Just find me on all social media networks. I am Woody Woods. Okay, not all of them, but the majority of them. The majority of the prominent ones. You can find me as I'm Woody Woods, and I will see what we can be done around topics and requests to join the show. But as you proceed on into the final days of this week, I am wishing you all light and love, happiness, and so much joy. And until we meet next week, when we'll be discussing Lord knows what, I'm hoping you guys have just a really good week filled with light and love. Until then, adios. See you guys next week. Ciao.